So here's part of the first tweet that started it all. When you get unhinged comments for 11 months, when you criticize a citizen's initiative and get swatted, that's bad. That maybe simping for big daddy government isn't the best way to go. Because government cannot really define. This is the same European Union that put in Article 13. And now we're still dealing with the consequences. The same European Union that cannot define a drawing from actual abuse, and among the other crises that they have. And that the supporters, well, at least this one tries. But we have, let's see, if we could, about keeping the demand vague. Well, it's because of how the law works. If you ask for something too specific, it will often end up nowhere, but starting with what something vague allows laws to have a foundation that new laws can build on. That is actually how laws get abused, and that's what we're seeing from the consequences of the 2025 project. We're actually seeing a lot of SOPA and PIPA. We are seeing COPA 2.0, expecting platforms to mind read their users and see usability patterns in order to boot off people or try and guess their age, which is asking beyond the possible. We have legislation trying to redefine and overturn. In fact, we had the Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton. Those vague laws turned into something terrible. Even the best intentioned rules turn into something terrible and abusable. And this is where we get it. Let's see. The problems were this. Who gets to decide for whom else what that is? Especially when the leader of the group disparages lawyers and content creators, not content creators, or actual copyright lawyers in the regions they're talking about, in the UK. When it comes to dealing with this ownership and trying to get that out. Private servers exist very well because they are in a legal gray. They are either outright illegal or in a legal gray area, nowhere in between. And that copyright is an absolute beast. Good Lord. I get it. In fact, there is some bit more to this. But when we actually talk about this, when the big lobbying group that says, "Oh, these people take money from EA and everything else," well, of course they're all game makers. They're all going to do the same thing. They're going to protect their interests. As much as I'm not exactly a fan of these people, of course they are people all the same. They're going to protect what interests they have from government meddling, just like how the ESRB had to be made so we could stop government meddling and censorship. Just like the ESA, the Electronics Entertainment Merchants versus Brown. And we had that. But that's United States. Like, we appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to continue online service is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable. We understand it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. I know this because I was given exactly that with CrimeSite. A very interesting little board game where it was where you took on the players, and there was basically Sherlock Holmes versus Moriarty kind of thing. That was produced by Konami, and well, unfortunately, that did not live long. But at that point, am I entitled to modify or take the assets of the game and everything else? No, I don't know. Do we own the servers or something else? It'd be nice and wonderful if people could set up their own, but who decides that? At what point do we have to keep people safe? Because goodness knows, how would you be compliant? Goodness knows that Ragnarok Online was dealt a blow with the Privacy Acts in Europe. It's basically shut off. But when this came out, if anyone doubts how powerful the EU initiative can be, popping out its chest like that, an industry lobbying group has unsurprisingly come out against SKG. The arguments against allowing you to keep your purchases are flimsy. I'll have a video in a day or two. You don't own that he's trying to guss you up. As wrong as it is to sell only licenses, as wrong as it is that we don't have ownership, that's what you agreed to. That is sadly what is there. I've had people argue to me that EULAs are not legally binding. They are. Is just, and not to mention other horrible things where they were called out in their bullcrap. Let's see. And then, of course, he's coming for us. They're coming for us. It has to be always something extremist. It always has to be something alarmist. That's how he did the first video, and that's how he did the others. What's really interesting is that when talking to him, okay, I get that something doesn't track. You made the hour-long video, 30 minutes of that taking Pirate out of context and saying, no, no, no. We all experience that kind of person that says, no, 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 every single time. And when you would cut up what he said. Now, he was talking about the graph where PirateSoftware was blamed for, hurting Stop Killing Games initiative. The Reddit, the subreddit, and the official forums are chock full, not only of hatred, but before the hatred, we're saying, we got to get PirateSoftware. We have to keep pestering him on this. We have to make sure he keeps talking about it so we can get more signatures. And that's why PirateSoftware gave other people the cold shoulder. Especially after the first swatting attempt. And when I asked if he cut up what he said, like, yeah, he cut up what I said. No. He doesn't deny. You can complain about the hours of content. It was 2 videos. It was a few streams. I get having to edit that, but the problem was taking someone out of context to say what they didn't say. Pirate could have misrepresented the initiative. It's PirateSoftware. Who cares? He could probably be everything else. He probably could say Caesar's a big green frog, but when it comes to this, you don't respond with, well, they did it too, so it's okay for me. It's a little bit weird. And then when you get people to tell him to drink bleach. Better Twitch TV is pretty great when it comes to revealing some comments. And there's a counter on that of comments that are far, far worse. Fortunately, I've had people say horribly worse. Not just to me, but other people. And of course, the dramatubers don't talk about that. And then someone says he's an industry plant, but he says something like this.
Some guy on Reddit bragging about torrenting Heartbound as a way to say F Thor. Okay, pirate it. I don't give a shit. Ooh, we're getting you. That's really weird. Yeah, I love that this narrative that somehow PirateSoftware, the streamer named PirateSoftware, would hate you for pirating his video game. I'm not against piracy. I think piracy is a service issue that is generally caused by overpriced or non-obtainable video games, where people go, I can't buy it in my region, I'm going to pirate it, or I can't buy it because it's too expensive, I'm going to pirate it. Like, it's an issue that you solve by making your games more cheap and more available. This is not like, it's not like a
So we have that. So that kind of destroys the industry shill kind of bullshit. And then we have claims of coding being bad when this is run through a decompiler. That is like analyzing what a chef cooks by looking through the garbage. Decompiled code is not the same as source code. Never was, never is. And it seems that all the coding YouTubers, all the drama YouTubers, even Coding Jesus, who doesn't know exactly anything outside of C++, as according to other people who, watch him, or, watch dog him, rather, somehow that's okay. And we have all that. Very, very nice. Ugh. And that there actually is not an... And then they say they don't use for loops or anything else. We had somebody absolutely yelling at me that he said, I mean, I saw multiple code snippets and they really aren't the best. Like, snippets from, yeah, we know where you got them. But it isn't bad. Shit happens. We all know that stuff, especially engineering. Oh, well, yeah, that's a softening way of the concern trolling. I mean, you're missing the point. We get it. We try to go over decompiled code. Yeah, that's BS, bro. Decompiled code. It's just not as readable. When people are saying he codes badly by reading decompiled code, also the code you see is online in IDE. He actually has streamed Heartbound coding, and he does use for loops. Jesus Christ. The image provided to me by someone else over and over again that he said he can't code, and that was the proof. I mean, people came for Kurt, people came for Edgar Allan Poe, they came for Notch, they came for PewDiePie, and everything else. It's just... the thousands and thousands of switch cases are a nightmare solution. Well, yes. Even Ask an AI. Game Maker Studio is made of these switch statements. The long yellow strings are encrypted data for save files and the like. If you don't know stuff about coding, it might leave to repeat what Pirate tells you. The code is insanely bad. It went from a little bit to insanely bad. Only interns would learn in the few weeks. Simple works. Like, switch statement does that better. I mean, it's like, that's the next concept. It's more than a for loop. You'd know that. I actually went to school for this, but yeah. Switch statement isn't a replacement for a loop. Sometimes it can be. Everyone was hopping on Yandere Simulator for not using a switch statement. Good lord, these people just want blood. I think back, not accepting people are better, and not accepting helping from them is. Well, accepting help from who? The person that is just really in bad faith? Keep banning people. I'm not a mod. Just shut, bro. Take some basic computer science courses. I have. He's lying about the time, about literally everything. Then the block. Because, well, did you expect anything good from these people? Did you expect anything good from those who hate as a god dang thing? It's piss baby behavior. And then when someone was crying about being, they said crack Windows 10 in some language, and I guess they say the other stuff, but I mean, if you want to crack a game, fine. I actually showed you the other thing that I was not cared about. But then you said, I talked in Spanish, you're racist, and everything else. It's just blame, blame, blame. That wasn't a hate comment, bro, blah, 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 blah. Goalposts. And no, please grow up. It's like, you can't blame this on a streamer. And like, oh yeah, this is ADHD, Chief. Not that upset, like everything else. And all the time, this is the same guy that had all that other bullcrap, who just spammed my thing with a video that he's outsourcing ideas from. I showed him a woman who was talking about this. Liana Kersner. Hold on. We'll get to her. I get to her later on. Don't save. Cancel. Hold on. Real fast. Okay, hold on. Anna Kresner. Whoops. And let's see. We can take a look at that. Let's see. And here we go. Sorry, boomer me and my awful technology. I must be terrible. Oh. The pros and cons of stop killing games and everything else. The first comment was, to sum up the TDLR of this whole video, was that I don't see any problem. That's the status quo. Just accept it. Which is not true.
This is my third crack at...
This is just...
The content they licensed was not in perpetuity. And it costs a lot more to license games exclusively, license music and things like that, brands exclusively in perpetuity. There's usually a sunset on those. And
in fact, it happened with GTA 4, and it will probably happen with GTA 5. In fact, there's a lot of the stuff that you can't get the original soundtracks to because that licensing has expired. It's too expensive. There's something that should be reasonable about fair use, about transformative works, but Stop Killing Games just seems to just gloss right over that. Anybody that tries to talk about it glosses right over that. Over and over again.
They may have, the renewal fee may have been more than Ubisoft was willing to pay. I don't know. I can't.
And they have the crew back, so we didn't even need an initiative to get that back. Even though 15 people were playing it, Ross was a little bit, misleading on how important it was and how the game was stolen from you. You can re-download it back. You can't play it online, really. But you don't own a whole theme park when it gets shut down, like Six Flags. There's a lot of problems with this, and there's a lot of things. It's a neat idea in spirit. Just hold on. Because we've got this, that, and the other thing. But no one does that. And of course, Charlie, Penguin Z, Moist Critical. And it's harsh criticism. At least Louis Rosman is someone he's going to listen to, because Louis Rosman actually tries. But Charlie floated a conspiracy theory about Boeing and couldn't tell the Pacific Ocean from the Atlantic Ocean, and then tried to defend it that nobody uses that knowledge. Like a high school dropout. Jesus. And let's hold on. We're going to have another thing here. And let's see. Here's what we have.
Disagree with me. That's fine. I don't give a shit. We can disagree. That's okay, right? But the moment it turned into, well, he disagrees with me, so I got to tell everyone that he's never had a job. And if he did have a job, he didn't deserve it. And he never did anything accomplishments. And if he did, then it was easy, right? Like, going down that road, or like trying to say that our ferret rescue is like a tax haven, bro, it's not even a freaking...
It's actually an S-Corp. It's not a 501c3.
It's not even a non-profit. It is... We literally pay corporate taxes on it as all the rest of the income for the corporation. And I did that because I didn't want people to think it was a tax haven, which is deeply hilarious to me. And I'm glad Past Me did that, because now that narrative falls apart.
But it doesn't fall apart in the eyes of the common person because, well, hey, who cares about truth when you can get your clicks? Just like saying, oh, this was a hate group 12 years ago, even though the FBI exonerated it. Even though the Women's Action and Media Report said that less than 1% were joined. Just like how everyone said Asmongold was some sort of bigot and everything else, and then Asmongold actually just turns tail on the guy that's actually played defense for him. Threw him under the bus. this guy under the bus.
Insane shit. Yeah. We got ads. We're going to wait on the ads. I agree with the spirit of the argument, but disagree with the language of it? Yes. And people would know that if they actually watched my videos on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was criticizing how things can go wrong, especially from someone who has had to work for government and the paper shredding that goes on, just printing and then shredding it right after. And someone who has to receive and work with government, yeah, they cannot do very well. It's always too little, too late. Just look at FEMA. Look at Katrina. Look at anything FEMA was supposed to do. In fact, look at any government program. But this is kind of what it is about.
Thor's face for thumbnails. I don't watch people's YouTube videos, man. Like, I get the game. The game is talk about whatever is a hot topic, talk about whatever is going to get you the most views. Like, I understand people do, like, drama content and all that kind of shit. I don't engage in that shit because it's fucking dumb. Like, it's not really the kind of shit I put out. Like, the stuff that I want to do is get you guys making stuff, which is why we do the game jams and everything else for that. The only time you see me talking about that stuff is when other people bring it up or come after me, and then I respond with it. Thor's.
The unfortunate thing is, I'm pretty sure Louis Rossmann does not know about the other stuff. And we can actually get into that. Let's see. Ah, god dang it. Where was it? All those videos, all that other stuff. Let's see. Oh, well. Guess we have to start from scratch again. Let's see. Oh, yes. There we are.
Not a lack of for loop.
There's not a lack of for loops in the goddamn thing. I mean, we go over the greed and spirit, like, hey.
So they tried to do anything they can to cancel me. It didn't work. And it won't. And our community is still here. And we're going to keep making cool shit. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Because his whole thing is about helping people create games and get in the jobs in tech industry. Louis Rossmann, I can understand him, but saying that PirateSoftware is over, saying that he didn't do these things, saying that he did... Louis Rossmann's going to go above that, but I'm not so sure he understands what the doxing and harassment constantly do.
Yep.
And then
We're
this.
being canceled. They attacked our business. They've review bombed my game into the ground. They went after all of the games that I worked on with Off-Brand.
Yes, even Ludwig had to come out and say, yeah, these people don't deserve that. And then when they reversed their... And then when SKG was the dishonest little shits that they are, they reversed. They reversed their review bombs of Rivals of Aether and Rivals of Aether 2. And then Thor had to leave, voluntarily left Off-Brand so that these people would not get harmed. Ludwig even had to come up with him. And like Thor was actually getting minimum wage. He was actually saying, "Hey, I work for Off-Brand for free," but no, he actually had to be stopped because that legal team couldn't say that, and that they would get in trouble for that. Thor kind of opened his mouth, put his foot in it. Hey, nobody's perfect. I disagree with Thor that, yeah, there's a lot of censorship issues that go on, but Stop Killing Games just doesn't care about that. In fact, when I talked with Ross, he didn't even know about one of the most anticipated games getting censored with Ready or Not, and how people are upset at the console release and the promise made 3 years ago just broken. That it was censored on all platforms, including PC. That they said, even though they said they wouldn't. And then said, Ross, well, we single issue and everything else, and we would rather care about preserving games entirely. Like, other games have been banned and censored, having incredibly safe, not illegal content by the governments they're trying to petition, as brought on by hate groups like the NCOSC, formerly Morality and Media. by Collective Shout, who is closely related to morality and media all the time, and say that they can stop virtual crime as well as real when they can't even tell fiction from reality. You can't have it both ways. They are insane moral guardians. And Oppa has something on that. And then they justify that shit. And it is indeed shit. All because they were the same group that said, hey, gay people getting married is a no-no. That's morality in media. That's the people that have pressured Steam to stop games. In fact, it's been going on for about 7 years. And then when they were caught, they were shown to be using pseudo-feminist rhetoric from a certain individual who's also just basically Jack Thompson with lipstick. She unfortunately got harassment, but as wrong as she was, she didn't deserve that. She was very wrong and very damaging. But somehow she was able to play victim, ironically, and go into sexist tropes, which she said she was against, and then, gaslight people into guilt and companies and the video game industry into submission. So I guess all Thor needs to do is just put on lipstick and then everyone will see the error of their ways. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, even Grand Theft Auto saw this censorship because Carolyn Petit, from her, I believe, either IGN article or Kotaku article, was of course structured in bad faith and had videos on it, and then rode the media outrage machine and then got Rockstar to bend the knee. They say, oh, what's removed is so tiny. It's everything else. You still have your game, idiot. It's just these people, even you, they just want their fun. They want their mainline thing because they have nothing else in their life. No, that's fundamental attribution error because they got nothing else. They don't care about video games. They don't care about how this could go belly up and how trusting government is not exactly the best thing to do ever.
They went after every one of our employees. They swatted me twice, trying to kill me in real life.
3 times, actually. And they knew exactly where he was, because if they were going to attack the ferret rescue and say it was a hovel, they would have attacked that. We would have seen it on camera.
They've gone to all of our socials and smashed them all there. They go onto our YouTube and smash it with thousands of comments.
In fact, there's a lot of bot comments that support Stop Killing Games. All of them bots. Many of them bots. I get hate messages from bots when you see the dash and the alphanumeric characters after it. It's through a system.
Every day that we have to remove. But that's not cancellation, right? Pull your head directly out of your ass.
And they say that this is ego. That is not true. That is not ego. That is just being fed up. And when he said he agreed in spirit and everything else, my God. Let's see. The entire point of PirateSoftware's community is to make games.
Because they don't actually know what we do in this community at all, or what I do, because they don't give a shit.
I guess he's a little bit noseblind, because Off-Brand Games and their publishing, he worked with them in order to make sure that anybody that is published by Off-Brand Games, any developer, is able to keep their IP and assets and after the fact, trying to establish better practices for the industry. Meanwhile, Stop Killing Games and relying on government, only AAA game studios could ever stomach the costs and other perpetuity and licensing and other things to even continue moving on. But, yeah. Nobody seems to think more than 2 steps ahead. I mean, that's not me trying to be a Joker thing, but nobody seems to try to play the tape through. I don't want to sound like Nikocado there, but you gotta kind of think 2 steps ahead. How things could go wrong, because Murphy's Law is it's a thing. It's a very real thing. And if you want to know where Murphy's Law goes into place, it's government. And of course, the hate, well, when he got.
Course of action is to ban and silence the negativity. When it's this shit, it's absolutely this. Yeah, see that one? That one just got banned because he said it's justified he is Jewish. Obviously just a crazy anti-Semitic comment. Banned, right? Like, of course we're going to ban these people. Like, that's an insane thing to say. That guy just got banned on YouTube. So, yep. Yeah, I have no idea how that's related, right? And I'm not Jewish, by the way. Which is like, okay. That's super weird, dude.
That isn't being egocentric. That's actually being fed up. That is just saying, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me show you. Speaking of, you know the kinds of people that would argue with the mechanic. We've already gone over that. And that they said that there was a lack of for loops in Heartbound. That is not true. What is he going to do? Have his whole GitHub public? Oh, wait. Wait. It was because of that image, that thing that showed the decompiled code and then said, oh, he can't code everything else in this. That is a lie. For people that are very upset that PirateSoftware misrepresented Stop Killing Games, they certainly love to lie over and over and over again. And then say he killed his career, he's everything else, he's this and that. And then having the unwashed man known as Asmongold try to do that and throw his only friend under the bus, that's really neat. Asmongold is right when he's right and he's wrong when he's wrong. Nuxtaku, Destiny, after, the allegations of, abuse, is trying to get on that train again. Back on the drama stuff. Because he's not doing so hot.
Not a lack of for loops. I'm going to guess that you saw the 5 or 6 alarms in a row set to 0 and wonder why that wasn't set as a for loop. It's like 5 alarms that run once ever. You don't have to for loop absolutely everything in your life. There are tons of situations where I use loops throughout the game. That is not one of them because it's irrelevant. That's... Jesus Christ. That is the dumbest gotcha I've ever heard in my life.
Because it really is. He's so condescending. He's everything. When he has to deal with crap like this, from people who don't know code and from people who come in from people who say that they know code but they don't, there it is. It's like me having to be told that, hey, the Puritans, the actual real-life Puritans were, terrible and everything else, when they were actually very frank about talks of, of a sexual nature. That somehow the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages were just terrible, or that everything is great in America right now, or that the European Union will fix everything about games and totally not choke out indies.
Oh, God. It sounds like a nitpick,
And not to...
because it is. It's a single run initialization. One singular. One frame. The game runs on a smart fridge for a reason, my dude.
And he also has really creative shading on that, and he showed it off. It was really good. But that was before this whole drama kind of just erupted. But nobody seemed to like that. No one seems to understand that, hey, maybe a game with that many branching paths and other stuff, story comes out. I remember this happening with Frederick Knudsen, saying that, he's stealing money, the Eve video will never come out and everything else. He was hated and everything else, or he's this, that, and the other. Then it came out and everyone was silent. Nobody apologized. And of course, when he actually coded games on stream the day before.
There we go. And if you're talking about the work for Block Game yesterday, no, I got a shitload of stuff done for that. I reworked all of the crafting for all of Thaumaturge, all of Guardian, all of Warrior. I redid all of Alchemy as well, and I redid all of the stuff for compasses in the game. That was a massive amount of shit that got done yesterday.
All live streamed.
Just because you don't see anything going on because you're not paying attention doesn't mean shit isn't happening. Edited config files? Where do you think the game gets all of the resources in it for? How do you think I define when an object needs to be crafted and what it needs to be crafted out of? Configuration. Do you think you hard code all of that? How would I hotfix it for the players then? We'd have to recompile every time. That sounds awful. Yeah, my favorite one is...
And here it is.
If SKG swatted you, how come your ferret cam never showed any police entering the room? I have two places. They swatted the other one. And I have to deal with it every single time that they do. You want me to hand you the police report numbers too? Is that going to quell you? Do you want to call the officer that had to deal with it? Do you want to see all the numbers that they called me from on the phone? Where does it end for you? Incredibly, there are people on the internet that are fucking insane. You're one of them, right?
And then it's never enough. And then where does it end? They say, no, you didn't. You didn't get it. Everything. Or
No.
that's false. That you lied on your LinkedIn. That everything else is just terrible. It's the narcissist prayer. Let's see if I still have that. It's... Hold on. Shit. No. It's... That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. That is what we're seeing a lot from the SKG community and leadership. That they can't even wipe their own butt. That I'm glad that Ross, as an aside, in the smallest capacity, said, don't go after PirateSoftware, but there's a whole swath of it. And he says, we don't visit the Reddit, and that we're leaving him alone after 2 weeks. This was 2 weeks after the initial, oh, he's destroying our stuff, he's threatening our movement, he's everything else. And then having him as a lightning rod for a very successful movement that just didn't reach 1 million signatures at one time. All those people. That's actually a really good success, but I guess that would make Ross look foolish if he didn't meet the ideas or the deadline or whatever numbers, and then a logarithmic curve going straight up with some illegitimate signatures. And that we need to have more of them to counter the illegitimate ones. Dude, a lot of this was botted from the start. A lot of this stuff with the World of Warcraft, he even did better. Let's see. Let's see that too. And here it is. Let's see. And no one ever saw it.
Correct about that. I shit.
Where is it? Come on, where the heck? There it is. Oh, geez, yeah, it's a different little mask.
Ross Scott, and I apologized for that on Twitter. I got
Let's go right to the beginning.
About that. I shit talked Ross Scott, and I apologized for that on Twitter. I got emotional, and I attacked him as a person instead of his ideals, and I apologized for that. I was completely in the wrong for doing so. A lot of people didn't see that apology. I got emotional, and I attacked him.
This is not what a narcissist does. This is a full apology. Unreserved, taken for it, and there it is.
As a person instead of his ideals. and I apologized for that.
But
I was
still, the
completely
swatting and the
wrong for
abuse
doing so.
happens.
A lot of people didn't see that apology, so they still think that I'm doubling down on that in some way. But you're completely correct. I should not have done that. I should not have gone after him as a person. Yep. And they ignored it when I said, I'm sorry. But, yeah, what are you going to do? It's the internet.
This is modification of block game, where he adds more content to the other stuff with the config file. He adds more content to it in one day than Mojang does in a year. Because what can you do? And somehow they think he's an industry plant, this, that, and the other thing. He didn't do it. It's, once again, the narcissist prayer. You did, if that didn't happen, you didn't have your accolades. Anything you did, it was bad. And we have people calling each other mouth breathers and even worse. And then you're called dick riding on somebody if you try to be fair. I even have up in my Medium page criticizing PirateSoftware on the, lack of attention, that there's a lot of crap happening with censorship and has been for a decade. And that there's been a group that has been falsely claimed a hate group. And it's funny that those people that have been lied on by the media and everything else suddenly go right to this and then just also lie because, who cares about the truth when you can get clicks? Ego this, ego that, none of you know what that means. Narcissist this, narcissist that. When we have people on TikTok saying, if you rub your feet together, that's a proof that you were a narcissist and you had to soothe yourself. Like, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And narcissistic abuse is very, very serious. But when we had someone try to downplay and try to say, oh, that's not my responsibility, that's not this, and not even address the main issue, here we go. And I hope Louis Rossmann also, accounts for the licensing and everything else. But, of course, he's going to get glazed because he's on the correct side. But Leona K. gets a comment saying that she's all sorts of other things. And things I can't repeat. I won't repeat. All because she's a woman. And the whispers and dog whistles from, oh yeah, we're going to be using his Second Life name because he somehow... That was false accusations by somebody that he denied. That somehow he's been called this, that, and the other thing, a zoophile, something, a pedophile, a rapist, everything else under the book, a groomer. I can't believe this isn't going to get monetized on YouTube, and nobody's going to see it in their recommended because of the accusations against him. But he has to absolutely put up with that shit because he was accused way back in 2020 by a toxic individual, because that toxic individual wanted to be on PirateSoftware's dick. Literally. And when they rejected those advances, they made a whole Google Doc and everything else and a website, and you get called a worshiper of Satan if you're somehow along with him or something. Or people just hate him because furry or somewhere furry adjacent. And then lied about him. Oh, that's an adult thing he did with kids. No, he didn't. Oh, but that mark and like that star on his belly was a ferret or... No. 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 It wasn't even that. The goalposts keep getting shifted back and back and back and back and back and back and back. Of course, Trump supporters. That's how you do it. Then you get as people saying that he was botting, he was everything else. That's what happened after the WoW stuff. People upset over a video game. Do you have anything else? Maybe Stop Killing Games should really answer for this, because as far as I know, they're a hate group. And I don't think we should be playing any sort of defense for any of this behavior. And the fact that nobody even acknowledges this, that all the drama tubers and everything else, you will have to be painted with that broad brush, because you're certainly not giving other people the same grace. Fair's fair, right? God, what a fucking excuse. Yeah, just dox me. Oh, yeah, well, I see it. And we have the LibreOffice, we have the everything. Just fucking Lord. You know where I am. You're probably going to send hate my way. It wouldn't be the first death threat I've gotten. But SKG, as it stands, is a hate group. Any support for it is government simping. It is absolutely saying, yes, from the continent that gave us the two worst totalitarian ideas ever, that the idea of having rights and everything else protected from government meddling is somehow a foreign concept. That they don't even have free speech and put people from Facebook posts in jail. Over 10,000 of them a year. And that's just the UK. Where the EU has arguably been censoring games, and as far as Asmongold is concerned, is making them quote-unquote woke. And with the kind of hatred that we saw, quote-unquote, social justice warriors give back in the day, because anyone dared criticize them, and they called them all white, cis, hetero, and male, and then when black women came out against them, black people, women came out against them, POC, LGBT, like myself, well, we were called all sorts of things that I cannot repeat for terms of service. Fun! And now it's happening all over again. And I don't care if Louis Rossmann is correct. He's absolutely missing a crucial part of the conversation. And I do not know why he would give implicit support to these swatting efforts. Louis Rossmann has had to work against the government and try to work for legislation, for everything, against every lobbying group, against government, against everything. And somehow he thinks putting it in the hands and lap of the gods is going to roll the dice in his favor, or anyone's favor. This is what SKG wants. It's like the Chinese curse. Be careful what you wish for, you're just going to get it. And that's really there. Aside from all the assault and everything else, it seems that SKG supporters are not exactly living in a sort of reality that we share, that we have to break down, which will take decades. But hey, Ross offers an immediate solution, alarmist, everything else. He starts his YouTube career because he knows how the algorithm works, and he made a little animation, and he confuses game jams with crunch. It's on his own Twitter. I have the other stuff in full context later on. There we go. But don't worry. None of you have the attention span to even do this. Don't worry, I'll just put a misleading title, everything else. I could just easily do that. And then you'd all just hamper on the praise. God. And then you'll just make yourselves look like idiots. I swear to God. I may not know much, but I know that I know nothing. But the other person fancies themselves as knowing something. Meanwhile, they can't even come up with their own ideas. I was spammed a video over and over and over and over again by somebody of Slop News Network. I don't think we should trust somebody like that. But then they go and their bots are trying to advertise and everything else, like everything. And it's like, or side scrollers or some other thing. Funny that they don't seem to have an issue or anything out yet. Funny how the most awful of people don't exactly, have a video out yet. Weird. I mean, Destiny does, but we all know that he's kind of hot water over that. And Tectone, I don't know if he reached out. I'm not sure what's going on. Not my business, not my thing. Goodness knows people still pile on Ludwig and saying, oh, he's enabling someone's alcoholism or something else. And that even with tweet saying that Rivals of Aether was being review bombed, saying they don't deserve it, then it was community noted because everyone switched their reviews to positive, just so they could go scrub that all away. But the damage is already there. You can even see in the posts, you can see in the discussions, you can see it everywhere that it was being review bombed. Why would the head of a game studio said that their games weren't being review bombed? Come on. Let's say Pirate is terrible. Let's say he's done something. Let's say he stole cookies from the cookie jar. This does not make lying about him okay, especially when you're upset about how he misrepresented Stop Killing Games when he read from its own source. And how Leona Kersner said when she was criticizing it and all the like, they say, oh, I think it's dishonest. You have to read our little wiki that we made because you investigate yourself and then find no problems. Good Lord, Jesus. I mean, for people that really simp for government, they certainly act like them too. I mean, we're not guilty for the Tuskegee experiment. We're not responsible for Ruby Ridge. We investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. Come on. Come the hell on. So nuts to you, nuts to the SKG, and I don't know why Louis Rossman is implicitly, or I'm not sure if he's knowingly, supporting this kind of bullcrap. I'm sure it will be an aside. I'm sure he will just not focus on any of that or other bullcrap that is surrounding. But I hope it does. I hope Louis Rossman is going to stay actually, factually correct, unlike other people. And, oh wait, it's like the only one who was reasonable and PirateSoftware himself thanks was 2 videos. Talking about the initiative and caring about it 10 months ago. And now it's 11 months and the harassment still happens. It's been rage bait and crap flinging the entire time. It really is. And goodness knows all the drama tubers prove that shiz right. He disagrees. That's it. Somehow he said that this was like an absolute unloading or something. Ross, you're blaming. The initiative isn't getting the signatures, and he did blame him for 33 minutes going, no, 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 taking him out of context. And we did cover that earlier with how Ross, didn't deny doing the same thing. He said he was editing for clarity. You go in through the videos. You go through them fully. Just like everyone else. Just as archived and everything else. And then there's people on the Reddit just saying, we're going to pirate the game everywhere. We're going to try and get him back at this man to take his ego down a peg. Get a personality. And don't be this person. Please. This is nuts. Keeping the demand vague is because of how the law works. Like, these are people who don't know how the law works. Of legislators that don't know how games work. That have banned gambling in Pokemon because it has to be forced to have a higher age rating because it might. The people that banned Balatro in the European Nintendo eShop because they thought it was gambling. That's who you want to trust? Screw that. Stop Killing Games has a lot of problems, but unfortunately, as soon as you criticize them, they feel like they have been personally attacked, and then will dox, harass, and just do everything and lie, lie, lie. Because, well, these are gamers. They don't exactly have the best maturity. They don't exactly have good track records when it comes to being positive contributions to society, and certainly seems to be puer aeternus. Of which I'm guilty, I'm so sure, but Jesus. We have to think ourselves the great people who are going to take down the walls of Babylon, or whatever. Jericho, sorry. Or we're going to have to slay the David and Goliath. You know, get your targets right, and maybe don't romanticize yourself. Louis Rosman is right to repair stuff. Jesus. At least he doesn't do that too much. But as soon as the law came in, there's going to be sidestepping. Nintendo just sidestepped it. Ron Wyden, God bless him, but didn't account for that. But treating developers and everything else and publishers as the enemy doesn't exactly help. Like, this is just not how it works. This is not how any of this works. The lies are there. We show the decompiled code, and everyone else is just on 5 alarms of initial initiation and one initialization, and yet somehow it's terribly bad code everywhere when it runs on a smart fridge and has very neat little shading when it does without needing a shader when it comes to lighting and effects, especially with the when the main character is in his room and there's lightning outside. But yeah. So, to sum up, how do you all live with yourselves? How do you even breathe without assistance? I mean, I got some issues, but no, I mean, seriously, how many of you actually looked into this and tried to get the good opinion? I have had one good interaction with someone with SKG, and only one. All the other people were saying that Thor was this, that, the other, an abuser, this, that, or the other thing, a fake coder, fake everything else, and they couldn't. When asked why, I got blocked because, well, that's what SKG does. That's what a bunch of entitled little children do. They have a tantrum, and they're sorry that their toys are gone, that they don't get to ride the rides anymore because they didn't have enough money. They can't have mom's credit card. They have to now. Every live service is probably going to be a gotcha, and that's going to muscle out indies. Maybe I'm wrong. Try and make it, but I would like you to try and actually make that case. Please try. And please use, honest to God sources. Not someone saying, oh, EULA doesn't matter, like one of the comments on an article I wrote, that EULA doesn't matter when in the European Union when they quote a source when that isn't what the source said. I mean, there's people using Grok to fight with each other online. They can't even make up their own beef. And the other people were just saying, oh, it's internet beef, it's just Bloodsports, it's everything. No. No, it's not. The first wave of hate came with the Ashes of Creation saying, oh, he's paid, he's a shill, he's an everything. That was even before all this, because people hate those who are famous or actually accomplished. And like him or hate him, wrong or right, PirateSoftware is actually accomplished and helping other people to become accomplished in his Discord and in his community, of which I'm actually excluded from. But fair is fair. I can't wait for the comments saying I'm dick riding the guy, that I'm on his balls or whatever, all the homophobic shit. Meanwhile, you're on your own hate boner, and that the drama tubers that sent you there to harass him over and over and over again, that tell you what to think over and over and over again, are tumors. Without pirate software, they could not exist. Without drama, they could not be. Without some content to react to, they would not be. Especially with flaws of certain individuals, and we can go into that. We can have Nuxanor, him being absolutely brain dead. Asmongold, with his old-time fans leaving him. Thank God for food shops, but unfortunately she got attacked when she ever dared insult the Smegma Lord Asmongold, and how he's their, anti-woke messiah. Sure, I'm anti-woke too, but Jesus Christ. I would expect better from someone who has been attacked over and over again as a bigot, Asmongold, but, oh wait, I mean, I've had to defend him because what he said was not bigoted. Yeah, I've actually had to defend that, and it was with Twitch. But then he crawled to Big Daddy Hassan on his hands and knees because, well, the platform seems to favor some people instead of others. Here's the jingly keys. Here are the jingly keys. I'm sorry, your ADHD is just not there. Your malformed prefrontal cortex needs something stimulating. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry, I forgot that. But yeah, I guess that's about it. And I'm short. I think SKG should be put on the list. It should be investigated as the hate group it is. Or at least SKG itself proper could not blame the person having a reaction. Whenever there's a reaction, an allergic reaction to someone, you don't blame the person having the allergic reaction. You try and look into it. And somehow the fairness doctrine on all this doesn't work. But yeah, you can actually contact those sheriffs, the department, the FBI, all that, and find out yourself what's going on. You could go to his LinkedIn page and actually call HR on all of those things. Human resources are actually there and available. And you could ask if he worked on these things. Let's see. It's been 7 years. It was not okay. 9 years ago. Here it is.
Because they just don't want to deal with it. Welcome back from the dead. Yep. Yeah, see that one there? Banned. That one stays banned. Because they just coupled it up with an insult, right? Typical former Blizzard employee. I stopped working there in 2016. That's probably before you hit puberty. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Insane shit, dude. That was 9 years ago. It's just like, dude. Oh, they're insane, man. They're insane and obsessed. All right.
Yeah, not to mention the anti-Semitism, which is not surprising, with PewDiePie trying to support the initiative, trying to get back into relevancy. He has a family and all that, and, even though he messed with everyone's bread saying the no word. With the ADL, going after him. I've had complaints about the ADL. There's good things, there's bad things, and, yeah, I don't think they care much about... Yeah, they said that the big cartoon green frog was a problem. It wasn't. But now we have actually outward support for Hamas. That's a big problem. But then saying that any sort of... But then the restrictions on speech, for all that kind of stuff about, criticizing Israel, well, used to be called, pull and everything else. Like all those, quote-unquote lefties were saying, oh, if you dare say something about Israel or the ADL, you must be this. And now it's totally 180. Very nice. Very, very nice. As the serfs, funded the Holy Land Foundation and gave money to Hamas. $6,000 of it. And Charlotte Clymer or other people, I'm not sure if it was her. I'm going to have to get the correct individual, but they said, oh, they're trying to save him from the building when they're pushing him off. And there we go. There we are. Not fun. Not fun at all. I haven't seen my chat. I'm pretty sure they've said a whole bunch of horrible stuff in there, and then I'm going to get blamed for it. Bing, bang, boom. Because, well, SKG always lies. Stop Killing Games has a problem. And I can't wait for the apologies that'll never come of this kind of behavior. So what if Thor is wrong? He's wrong about a lot of things. He's certainly wrong and not even paying attention to the biggest issues. But sometimes enough is enough, and you can't say that you're good people when you're doing all this. And I guess that's what Tumblr did. It made swatting and harassing and all this very normal. It's canceling very, very normal. Here's the keys again. Here's the keys again. That's all you got. So yeah, fairness. That's pretty much it. Whenever it comes to anybody giving a valid criticism, I can't seem to find it. And Ross, well, I have that other conversation in full somewhere else, and thank goodness for that. But the community note on how that worked out was then deleted because it was, factually incorrect. Let's hope the other stuff is. But yeah, Stop Killing Games is a stupid populist movement that pretends to be good, and people just want to LARP and have any excuse to harass and be terrible. That's it. To the point where people were trying to beg their biggest nemesis, PirateSoftware, to try and talk more about them so there could be more signatures and buzz. That is on their websites, that is on their forums, that is on their Reddit. And now the hatred just reaches a fever pitch because of a World of Warcraft gaffe. And then people misinterpret Dr. K saying that Thor was a narcissist when he never said anything of the sort. In fact, Thor was very receptive. You saw that apology. So there you go. But who cares, right? Have fun. I don't care what you mean. This is just bad behavior. You don't insult people. You don't make people like shit. It has been crap flinging from the start. Him have a reaction. PirateSoftware having a reaction to dishonest YouTubers and all that stuff, and dishonest people and the harassment therein. I don't care. Maybe SKG should fail. Maybe we shouldn't deserve our games if we're going to act like this. Maybe we should go outside and have lives instead of playing with children's toys. Oh, did that hurt you? I'm sorry. I can't believe I should be the last one to say that. I think games are valuable, sometimes more valuable than some people's lives. Nah, I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to be with your abuse. If you want SKG, you're on their side. You can get put somewhere. Hopefully in an institution to figure out what's wrong with you. The good never rises to the top. Shit floats. And oh god, there's a lot of it. And someone who is praised and somehow a darling all of a sudden is the enemy number one because he was getting popular. After 10 years. Or after 9 years. Kind of funny you didn't have any issue with him then. No, you didn't. So yeah. Stop hating. Life is too goddamn short. And also, screw you. Don't let someone else think for you. I will absolutely come to the defense of this man because of all the stuff you've done here. Because what happens if he's right? Once again, we're going back to the Chinese curse. Be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. And when you do, maybe you're not going to like it. Could indies and single A and double A ever even compete and hope to actually function under these new regulations that will soon be global? It's not just going to stop at the European Union. What happens then? Especially with a government that controls content and has historic revisionism, especially funded by these games. Like, it's kind of crazy. One of the interesting arguments is that government funds some of these games, and maybe it should, put forth the ability to preserve them and their cultural icons. And that's a good one. That's kind of like the only one I've heard. Maybe there's some things wrong with it, maybe there's not, but at what point? How are you going to even do this to make it all legal and above board, especially with netcode, especially with licensing in perpetuity? There's a lot of things that are just going to have to go, poof. Licensing and like copyright is just so bad that even cars in GTA or anything else have to use slightly different fenders and bodies in cars because that's under copyright. It's getting ludicrous. And you'll have to address a lot of that first. There is decades upon decades of legal precedent that you have to undo. And it's somehow Stop Killing Games is just going to be, oh, it's the first step of direction. No, it's people that want a quick fix. It's people that want a LARP. Like, say, if I had a government initiative to try and remove all censorship from games, do I have that kind of power? Should anyone have that kind of power to decide what is or is not? I could say it's consumer rights all the time, but then that would be infringing on the rights of the artist. As much as I disagree and think censorship is absolutely a vice in itself and immoral, are we really going to have government decide that and compel speech in a very hypocritical way? What's going to happen here? Well, time will tell, and I'm sure we're all going to suffer for it. 3, 2, 1.